10 things every lawyer needs to know about cyber liability. Our featured speakers today are Kevin O'Hagan and Jamie Davidson of O'Hagan Meyer Attorneys and Advisors. And hosting the session is AltaPro's very own risk pro, Jay Reeves.
You need to be aware of the threat or the risk that's affecting your law practice. Are lawyers an especially vulnerable and tempting target? And if so, why is that the case?
Well, Jay, I mean, to be truthful, just about anybody who runs a business is a target at this point. But law firms are particularly vulnerable. If you follow the money, you will find that law firms are a direct target of cybercrime. You've got various levels and ways that a law firm handles money and is a target for money. Again, cyber criminals aren't really interested in vandalism. They're interested in money, just like anyone else. There's multiple scenarios by which an attorney has money and in control of it by virtue of their fiduciary relationships with their clients and access to trust accounts and so forth, that make a law firm a particularly enticing target.
Some of the new variants of ransomware attacks are able to exfiltrate in addition to encrypt data. So what happens, you open up your computer and you see a message saying everything's locked. You can't access any of your files or your client data, and you have to go about remediating that, which includes hiring counsel, hiring forensic experts to help you decrypt the data, and understanding what your backups are like.
First question, have you or someone you know experienced a data breach? We got 60% saying yes, roughly 41% no. Whatever the number is, it's 100% probability that the bad guys are trying to break into your law firm at some point. So,
oh, for sure. Okay, so because law firms are particularly, unfortunately, have been a relatively easy target, and again, it's the control of funds and also the loose organization that many law firms, particularly small law firms, have. Cyber criminals are going to try to assault your firm. Now, consider that in the realm of COVID-19 right now, we're all law firms, my law firm, Jamie's, everyone's, is operating in a virtual environment.
Kevin already kind of alluded to it, is have your IT explain your backup procedures. One of the biggest things we see with some of the ransomware attacks is that the backup is so tied to the main system that it becomes encrypted as well, and then paying an exorbitant ransom is the only way to potentially get your client's data back.
Make sure that there is a backup that is completely separate, that's done at periodic timeframes.
So you really got to know what's going on here. That's one message I'm getting. You got to know what's going on here.
Multi-factor identification, a password policy. Passwords can only make your IT have a reset every 30 days. It's still your data. It's still your client's data. And if it's in the cloud or someone else is hosting it for you, you have to understand what their policies are for, because you can't just pass the blame on to that third party in most instances. You have to understand what they're doing. Have a laptop and a mobile device policy. And then if you're going to issue those kind of company laptops, what kind of personal use are you going to allow?
I can't stress enough, though, to the listeners, the multi-factor authentication. Okay. Honestly, if there's one thing you take away from this seminar, is check to see if that's something that's available to you. It works. And so if somebody tries to use anyone else's in the firm's authentication credentials from an unknown device, okay, it will call your cell phone and you just have to verify that it's you.
That's probably the case in a lot of solo and small firms. What's your advice to them?
One service that some of these major forensics companies offers, and even some other IT firms offer, is what they call penetration testing. For as little as $1,000 at the most, up to about $5,000, depending upon how robust your computer system is, you can have these IT firms come in, basically tell you where you're vulnerable. They can actually try certain types of hack schemes and things like that to actually tell you what you need to do to close the holes, is the best way to put it.
An incident response plan sounds to me like something that happens when disaster strikes, when there is a problem.
100%. So the policy that you're talking about, the firm-wide policy would be pre-breach. How do we prevent the breach? The response plan is what happens when there is a breach, or when you notice that you're having a cyber event. A cyber insurance policy, depending upon how it works, is an incident response plan in itself. The way that some are set up becomes an incident response plan.
It is useful to have at least a discussion with the leaders of the firm as to, well, what would we do, right? What would we do in the event of our system being locked down? What other method could you continue in operation? That's pretty useful, right? To have the discussion. What is our response plan? And just having that discussion at all is useful.
Everyone should know who has to be notified, who's going to be on the response team. You know, for certain things, are you going to immediately tell your third-party IT? Are you immediately going to take a computer offline?
But we've gone completely where everything dumps into your email box. And that's the vulnerability that cyber criminals have spotted and are attacking. You know, when Jamie was talking about cyber insurance being a response plan, it's a response plan in multiple ways. They've already taken the time and effort with us and others to have response teams, okay? So a cyber coach that immediately answers the phone. We have a 1-800 number that can be called upon your first notice. We're around, and AltaPro and others are around 24/7 to answer that call.
Think of the biggest law firm you can. You know, if they wired out $150,000, it would not be fun, but they could, you know, it would be a blip on their radar. But if a solo practitioner who's handling a real estate transaction is holding the buyer's funds and wires out $150,000, that can either destroy your income for a year or it could destroy your business.
You know, you don't want to go to a website and learn about how to take a tree off your house. You want to talk to a live person who's ready to jump on it for you and to start solving your problems, to call the contractors in that are necessary, to bring the resources to bear to stop the problem and then to remedy the problem. And that's what the insurers have all put together.
Thanks so much for being here. Join us next time for AltaPro Live, and thanks again to our expert guests.